Well, we're all still waiting for what the Illinois Supreme Court is going to do with the challenge that State Representative Dan Calkins brought against Illinois' gun and magazine ban. We're also still waiting to see what the Illinois Supreme Court's going to do about the no cash bail provision of the Safety Act. And those are two high-profile cases that obviously everybody anticipated were going to go to the Illinois Supreme Court, but they have those cases under advisement after hearing both of those separately about a month apart or so. And we're still waiting. We're still waiting on whatever the outcome may be for those cases. But it also looks like the Illinois Supreme Court's going to take up another pretty high-profile case, and that deals with pension consolidation. Now, Illinois obviously has a huge pension issue, an unfunded liability for the state public employee pension funds. Those include, the poorly funded Illinois General Assembly retirement system. You've got a judge retirement system. You've got a state employee retirement system. You've got a teacher retirement system and a university retirement system. So 5 different pension funds that the state manages. Those are about 42% funded, which is abysmal when you really look at the overall actuarial assessments, and a lot of actuaries saying, it should be 100% funded. But the overall unfunded liability is like $140 billion. That's just the state funds. Now, one thing we do with the Springfield City Council Roundup each and every Wednesday is sometimes we delve deep into the pension issue. I'm kind of saddened that former Alderman Joe McMiniman is no longer on the council. He was termed out after serving 3 terms, 12 years. But he was very adamant in highlighting the city's pension issues. Because while you got the state funds, those are obviously, separate. You've got public safety pension funds that local governments had managed. And these local public safety pension funds for police and for firefighters, these are obviously important promises and retirement options for these particular jobs, public safety jobs. And in Springfield, there was always an issue about all of the city's property tax dollars it takes in were being eaten up by the public safety pension funds. And there was an unfunded liability for even the city of Springfield that was increasing. Now, it depends on what part of the state you're at and how the various municipalities across the state manage their public safety pension funds. Some were doing great, others not doing so well. But several years ago, the state decided to essentially take all of the downstate pension funds for firefighters and police officers and consolidate them. And the thought was, if you consolidate all these funds, you get all the billions of dollars together, they can have better investment returns, but you can still have some of the control over those individual funds for those municipalities. So that advanced bipartisan approach. They ultimately passed it and enacted it. Well, there was a lawsuit that was filed, and it was in Kane County where the county court ruled one way, the appellate courts ruled the way they ruled, and ultimately the challengers who were pushing back against the pension consolidation said, hey, we obviously have some issues here, and we want to litigate this. Well, the Illinois Supreme Court has decided to take up this challenge and to hear this. We don't know when it's going to be heard, but I did reach out to several of the pension funds that are involved here, and I got back information from the Illinois Police Officers Pension Investment Fund statement, and they say it's not a surprise that the Illinois Supreme Court's agreed to hear arguments regarding the consolidation of pensions, which provided the mandatory consolidation of investment assets of the state's public safety pension funds into 2 investment funds, one for police officers and one for firefighters. And the question is whether or not it's constitutional. Of course, this fund says it is constitutional. They say 3 funds have transferred approximately $9.1 billion in assets to the IPOPIF Consolidated Fund. Of the funds that's needed to complete their asset transfer, 15 are the litigants. So there's 15 funds that are suing the state, and that remains under the Kane County Circuit Court's stay order. As we await the Supreme Court's decision, the IPOPIF will remain a transparent, trusted, and financially responsible steward of the pension assets entrusted to our care, and we diligently serve all of our stakeholders. We are lesser focused on investment excellence, laser focused, they say. They're laser focused, make sure I get that right, on investment excellence, which means achieving the best risk-adjusted returns possible through the prudent investment of contributions and investment income. So that's obviously a high-profile case that the Illinois Supreme Court is going to take up when it comes with the issue of consolidating public safety pension funds. So we'll be watching that case closely. Meanwhile, from the Illinois Supreme Court to the U.S. Supreme Court, a ruling out of the U.S. Supreme Court that's not a win for unions. The ruling is going to allow companies to sue striking workers and hold them accountable for damage caused during labor actions. So, for instance, strikes. This story comes out of a Washington state company. It was a concrete company, Glacier Northwest Incorporated. Apparently, they had a contract disputes with the laborers there, and the laborers went on strike, and they filled up some concrete trucks with concrete and left the trucks running and left. That damaged some of the property. And so Glacier Northwest Incorporated sued the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local Union number 174. And the state court in Washington actually sided with the union on this. But the U.S. Supreme Court came back and issued their ruling and essentially slapped that down. So Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote the majority opinion. You had Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson with the sole dissent. So it was 8-1. On saying that unions can't go on a strike and destroy the company's property. So you've got that case if you're interested in reading more about that and all the ins and outs. Rather fascinating. But the U.S. Supreme Court reversing the decision of the Washington Supreme Court and remanding the case for further proceedings, not inconsistent with this opinion, meaning that the company can go after the laborers' union for some damages done during a labor strike. So that's some Supreme Court updates here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. And we got to take a